And we're live and choking. I'm choking on being live. So Johnny and I today, we had a guest planned, and he had a conflict, and so we're here, and we're going to have a fantastic time. Johnny and I are just laughing at. He's laughing at me all morning long here. So we're happy that you're here, and it's a fantastic mid-year review of what we think's going on, where it's going. We've got some cool things we're going to talk about here. So, Johnny, how you doing? How you feeling? How you be?
Just great. Things are fine. I had some medical worries that have all been done away. Everything's fine, which is nice to know. Um, no, everything's good. I'm a little disappointed in the world we live in, and but I don't have. I won't discuss that in this show necessarily unless someone, baits me. In which case I will. Um,
I have no idea what
but
you're talking
things are fine. I'll be here's a thing, and we'll talk about this in the show later, but, I don't know if there are people already lined up to watch and listen and ask, but what remind me somebody, Don or somebody, that when you make a schedule, a list of what you wanna get done in a chunk of time, in a summer, in a season, in a fall, whatever,
about.
um, and you finish early, you have options. I had my summer planned out, and I've done everything. 2 a week ago, I finished
Mhm.
the book.
You
All the books that are supposed to be done. I was gonna spend my summer relaxing. I did like 5, and bing. So now I've got some free time. We'll discuss what to do when that happens, why that happens, and your workflow, I think, a little bit. But more importantly, and most importantly, first is welcome to everybody out there. Our guest today, as Don mentioned, uh, blew us off. That's Terry Daniel. You can send him a horrible message if you want. That son of a anyway, he's a friend. He'll be back. We'll get him again. Next week we have Blake. What did I say? Blake. What the hell is Blake's last name? From Dion. Blake Honeycutt. He'll be with us. He's with Dion Audio, so you'll want to be here for that. And then we plan on taking August off and come back. So next year we don't. We have some guests set up for September, but we have space. If you have recommendations of guests you think we should have, if you'd like to be a guest, you can be a beginner and be a guest because what you're going through is of interest to everybody who either is going through it as well or has gone through it. Your beginnings, how you're getting into the business, how you're starting is different than how Don did it and how I did it. So there's interest there. So we have plenty, and we've got a whole year of space to fill, and we'd be happy to fill it with you, if you will. That
Yeah,
sounds
fantastic.
awful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
Now, here's the big deal for today. Are you ready, Don?
go.
Don has been tinkering away in his lab, inventing, creating,
Right.
doing some technological wonders, and he has a system that's going to help you with your ACX submissions. Is that correct to say?
Yeah, yeah. Well, what
Yeah.
happens is we all have to meet certain specs. And so some people do it a file at a time. Some people use a product out there that's called Second Opinion, which has been around for a decade. There's ACX Labs where people can go and you can submit a file one at a time and see how they're doing. And I've always had this thing where I've been unhappy with the solutions out there. And at the first of the year, I started with a new project and had a prototype up in about 2 weeks. And I was really excited about it. And then I put it on a main server and it just totally didn't handle load. And after 4 rewrites complete, it now works and it's pretty slick. But it's a, it's like everything else in life. And my mom's in her 80s and she uses her maps program and she gets it right. But then she doesn't use it for 2 months, and then she tries it again, and they've moved an icon a half inch down, and it's not where she remembered it, and she gets confused. And then she calls me with, "I can't do this maps thing. I can't do anything." And what she doesn't realize is anybody who's good with anything, whether it's recording audiobooks, they've made a bunch of mistakes and then they learn from those mistakes, but they were a little bit persistent in their pursuit of audiobooks, getting better at being a great performer. They are not just born being a great. Johnny is an overnight 40-year success story, same as I am, where he did comedy, he did live shows, he went out and did improv classes and went to school and he practices art over and over thousands of times. And I guarantee you, there were some performances he had in those early days that are very forgettable. And he was not happy with the way he performed live one night, but he didn't give up because he had a bad. I don't know of any performer that's ever been out there, because I've done it playing drums, where I've finished the night thinking that was a they'll never hire me back because that was horrible. Have you ever had any of those experiences, Mr. Heller?
Not drumming. Um,
Okay. Well, yeah.
you have you know, you'll have days in shows and theater that simply won't be up to snuff for whatever reason. You're doing 8 shows a week or whatever show you're doing. You'll have improv that doesn't work because someone broke cardinal rules or went for the laugh too soon or whatever. And you certainly have stand-up shows where your material that you worked so hard on that you thought was brilliant simply doesn't get a laugh, or you'll have a 10-minute routine that you realize needs to be whittled down to 2 sentences.
Right.
So and the discovery of that is in playing, you have to find out. And you always need some surefire material to back up the, other stuff. So, yeah, I would say there are, we all have
Yeah. Yeah. We just
horror
have 'em.
they're not horror stories, they're just the way things
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah, and no matter how much you practice, I've gone and practiced something for a month or 6 months or something I'm working on, when I was a performer, and I'm going into the weekend and the night thinking, "Man, this is gonna be fantastic. Everybody's gonna be blown away at how good I am at this," or whatever, and the and it falls apart during that first performance. It's like, "Oh, man." I start swearing, um, but then I went and practiced again, and then 2 weeks later, it all worked, and I didn't think about it after that, meaning I could do it whenever I needed it. So this business is a lot like that, where you do some things, it doesn't work. You do some other things, you get some coaching, or you get some perspective. You find a way to learn and grow. But if you expect to be great at this or any other performance art in X weeks or X months, or I hate to say it, within the X years, it's a tough road, because it's a forever. Performers never arrive. They just get to where their worst is strong enough to be very competitive with their peers. That doesn't mean they're at
Oh, yeah.
their potential. Even Mr. Heller, the funny thing, one of the things that I do respect about you, because most I don't. I don't respect much about this guy, but is that every time I see you at a conference where there are other world-class performers who are absolutely your peer, that you're sitting around and learning a new technique from somebody, and they're doing it totally different than you, and you go in and spend the time to figure out what they're doing, what you can pull from that, even though you might approach it differently. And I've just seen this go on for years, where you're a student at the same time as you're an instructor or a coach. That's just part of the way you were brought up. Why that? It's a lot of
I
people
why
think
I
they've arrived.
A couple things. First, you're wrong in one sense, I have no peers. Um
Well,
2,
that's true.
when I see someone doing something differently than me, I know they're wrong, but I'm gonna say how badly wrong they are so I can keep notes. So that's it. But actually, my father raised us my father's a professor, and he, raised us to question everything, very Socratic. And what I know is not the limit of what I can learn, and that's the key. And if someone has I mean, there are things I see Dan Belmont is on here, and some other people are on there, and he doesn't know this, but there's some things I've seen him do in workshop. I said, "Oh, that's a great idea." Just somebody brings something to the party, and it may be instinctive, it may be something they worked on, maybe a diagram, and maybe a program, whatever. And so that I don't know if I'll do that, but that's a wonderful idea, a wonderful thought. And people don't realize the way they think about things, the way Don thinks about things isn't the same as the way Johnny thinks about things. We're
Right,
similar in so many ways. But I said, "Oh, I never th I would not have thought it
right,
that would not have been my first call, but it makes a lot of sense, I can see that." So, I believe the successful actor, and successful anything, to be honest with you, never stops learning.
right.
As soon as you said, "I've got it all, I don't need more," you cease to be even remotely interesting, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah. And you certainly become irrelevant much sooner, because the
Yeah.
world is moving on and growing. And what was a world-class performance. There are things that you might have done 10 years ago that we would have thought, "That's fantastic," and then I look back at the performance that I did 2 years ago and think, "Wow," compared to where and what I know today and where I'm at today from additional practice and study and growth, that's just okay, at borderline, "Ugh, I don't ever wanna listen to that again," because I realized but at that time, it was the best I could do, and it's just an
Yeah.
ongoing, ongoing, ongoing thing, so it
Well,
never ends.
I wanna deal with all the
Go.
questions and things that pop in, but, can we look at your,
Oh, yeah,
are you
let's look
ready
at
to
that real
show us?
quick, so here's what I'm gonna do. Let me set this up. I'm gonna show it on the screen here, and,
Did you wanna wait a little bit, or is that
no,
fine to
no,
do
this
now?
is good. We'll
Okay,
get this out
okay,
of the way. So here's
okay.
what this is. This is called ACX PreCheck. It's still in the final. I have some people testing it. If you want to test it, get a hold of me afterward because I need people to test and validate things. There's just little things around the edges that need to happen with this thing. And what happens is while you can't see it, I'm dragging in a whole, I just grabbed 18 files out of my file manager and I'm going to drop them all in and it'll put in the files and just show the files that I've added. If you decide, whoops, I put in one that I don't want, a simple click and it will go away. That just took one away. By the way, if I drop the same 18 in the second time, it will ignore 17 of those and just now added the one file that I had missed. I'm
Oh,
going to
clever.
go to another folder. You can't see me going to the folders, but I'm just going over and I'm grabbing something and dragging it over and dropping it in. Now, what isn't obvious is chapter 54 was in one folder, the other ones were in another folder. You could switch as long as you want. You can go to 16 different folders on your machine and just drag in whatever you want. And once you've dragged things in, then the little check files thing will go in. And all you have to do is click one time and it does all the rest for you. For example, I'm going to click. And when I do that, it's now you'll see a couple little, what are these, status bars that are working. It's uploading all these things, and it's got a little percentage meter that's running here. And in parallel, this is where all the real work, because it scales so that many people could use this at once. In the background, the server, while uploads are coming in, those take a while. It is doing the work of figuring out what are the answers to the questions. And it's still doing that, and it's adding rows here in real time. You're not seeing them. There's a little status bar going. There it is. And what it did was it just analyzed roughly 3 hours of audio, and that 3 hours of audio, you can see that right at the top. There were 19 files that I added. I have 18 of them that passed. I can scroll this down and see everything that passed. And it just happened that alphabetically, this file was at the top. But if I just resorted it, so now my failure is at the bottom. So if you notice that one file failed, you can click on this and it'll bring it to the top for you so that you can just deal with whatever file didn't meet the specs for some reason. And I put this one in here for a specific reason because I knew it was a failure. I wanted to show you how to catch failures. And it will give you a little hint here that tells what's going on and what's wrong, quote unquote. If I had the file format didn't matter. WAV files take a lot longer, but it goes through and does analysis on every one of your files and it takes it an average of 1 to 2 seconds per file after the upload. So it is limited by your upload speed, but you can do batches and you can sit there and do this over and over again, meaning if in one folder you had a file that you wanted and you brought it in from one folder, now you can switch folders and go through and find all of them you want until you're ready. And then at that point, you'll check them. And then when you're done, if you want, you'll be able to print a copy of that and give it to a publisher if they require that kind of thing. Does any of that stuff make sense to you, Johnny? You don't have to do so. By the way, Mr. Heller's never done this in his life. He
No,
doesn't he doesn't need to. If you're sending raw audio to a publisher, they do not require you to hit any specific specifications. For everybody who's submitting, there are some smaller publishers who want you to verify that your stuff is at the same standards that ACX wants, and ACX requires this absolutely for you to have checked files on this stuff. And so this thing will just go through one file or 100. I think I've capped it right now at 100 files, and there is some limit to how big the whole thing can be. And I just threw in a massive WAV file here, which definitely takes longer, and I threw in
Yeah.
one that specifically. Now, here's an example. This file that I threw in there at the start of it has noise that is so loud that the system couldn't even figure out how much space you had before you started talking. And that happens to people where they don't realize that their noise in the background, a fan was on that day, there was something going on, or they took a big breath and that breath was not taken out at the beginning. And so while at first I think I don't have anything at the very beginning, um, I actually had something right at the start that was over the specs for quiet parts. So anyway, it's doing some really sophisticated things that you don't need to know about. When you get something wrong, it'll tell you. And I think you'll be quite impressed by it when you see how it actually works. It's months worth of work on my part. There are a couple details that'll still be refined, but you can get great reports and you don't have to do anything. All right.
Let me ask you a couple questions about
Uh-huh.
this. Is really fascinating and so awesome. Will the what do we call this again?
ACX PreCheck.
The ACX PreCheck that you invented. So how do people get it? One thing, by the way, you should send something to Karen Commons and let her know so it's in her narrator roadmap.
Yep.
'Cause a lot of the editors, because when I do ACX stuff, I send that to someone else to edit and proof, and I would assume if
Yeah,
they
they have
have
to.
this, it would be great. I mean, if I was doing my own stuff, I would do this,
Right.
but as we know, I don't know how to do anything. So, but I would, so is this would they pay do they pay you for this if
Here's
once
the
it's
great
all
thing.
said and
For
done?
right now, well, until further notice, it's free.
Oh my.
Now, I had to upgrade my servers because this thing in the background to be able to do all this stuff and simultaneously, it is definitely. I've got a monthly fee on this thing. So to start with, there'll be a coffee fund. Now it doesn't work right now, but there will be a
Oh, send coffee.
people can send coffee. If somebody sent, and then I will just put this up front. If you ever send coffee money, and then some point it's a $10 per year because it's never going to be some big massive amount, but
Send
it'll
Lexus. Yes.
yeah, send Alexis. Okay, that'll work too. But I will say this, if anyone sends coffee money and then later there is a charge, they will that for them, they will not be charged. That I will assume that your coffee money was your it'll definitely negate all the stuff in terms of a charge later. And it could be I haven't figured it out. It could be $1.99 a month, because most people are it's something like that. It'll be crazy cheap. There'll be a monthly maybe, and then you can pay for it in a year at a discount. And if you sent coffee, that'll be totally negated for a year or two or whatever. Just because I'm not trying to, I just want to cover all my server costs to run the thing. Okay, I do not want
Yeah.
to lose money every month on this for that, but I think you'll be impressed, and it'll be free. I still want some more testers because one of the it's like, Johnny, can you proof your own work in the
No,
audio?
no, as you know, you can't. No. No, 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 no.
Okay. What happens is there are details, and I see I see little things, and I can even, I'll give you one simple example here. I'll drop in a bunch of stuff, and while it's checking, um, so this is doing some things and it's doing and I don't like the way these meters work. They're a little bit they're pretty close. But there's one little thing about the way they work that I don't like. I'm going to fix that. And then I'll show you at the end where we just changed something and this drives me crazy. The corners here across the top, see how that has a rounded corner
Yeah,
and
yeah,
this box is squared off.
yeah,
Well, they were rounded, but we moved some things around and the round corners got lost and it's a dumb little thing. But there's visual things like that. And then there's a couple functional things that I don't like it doing. And we're fixing those. But I mean, fundamentally, it does all the heavy lifting really, really well. And then it has these details. So and I could spend another 6 months working on stupid little things, but I also miss details. At first, I missed that this was squared off for a couple hours, and then I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute, why did we lose that? Because that used to be
yeah.
rounded." Whatever.
Don, it's fascinating. It's unbelievably hard work, a brilliant job. And there's some people already I read who are willing to test. Um, where will they be able to get it once it's ready?
Oh, yeah, yeah, because it has a URL, so it's going to be just throw it in your browser, and you can, use it, in 10 seconds,
So
okay?
is it on the honor system that you're just gonna assume people are gonna give you a coffee?
To begin with, until
Yeah,
it's because I need to see what happens with the load on the server. I don't
you're
even
right.
know what this will cost me in a month to run because I don't know whether 3 people are going to use it or 4,000 people are going to use it. 4,000 people use it. The server cost, I get billed because of usage,
Yeah,
and there's a monthly and then a usage. And if enough people use it, then I'll have to say, okay, it's gonna, but we can amortize it if enough people are using it, and everyone's $2 a month or something like that, or $20 for a year,
yeah.
then that'll cover it. But I don't know how it will be. I know what it does when I test it, but it's not the same. So that'll take me a month or 3 to figure out, but it's free for use at that point. I got some other
Wow.
cool tools I'm gonna develop too. Wait till you
Th
hear.
th
I
there's there's a question here,
okay.
a reasonable one. People who are using it a lot, like people
Mhm.
who do editing and production full time, will their charges be different?
To be determined. I don't know.
Okay.
If someone's really using a lot, then they probably should pay something.
Yeah.
Um, if they're editing for other people, it probably will be free for personal use or $2 a month for personal use, and it might be $10 a month for people that work with a bunch of others. Haven't really figured that out because I don't know what it costs me to actually run
Yeah.
it if somebody's running a lot. The one thing is, I will be able to tell that I can't tell who is running anything. It's all deleted from the server almost instantly. Once it processes a file, it gets deleted because hey, these audio files are
You don't need it.
massive.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so as soon as I mean, by the time you see the display, it has deleted all the files that you've uploaded instantly because I have to pay for disk space too. It's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
amazing. And so I've got it set up to where it literally, matter of fact, I'm almost done. It's but when you actually see the row on your screen, it is definitely gone long ago because it's almost instantaneous because all the drives are
Yeah.
SSDs and since they're all in memory, can just delete it almost instantly with no impact on the performance. It's a lot of stuff going on. Anyway, I know
This
nobody cares about that. So
no,
my
this is
issue is
marvelous.
it'll be a fair price if somebody's using it a lot. I can tell that the same user has used it a lot, but I can't tell it's anonymous. And if it gets to be obnoxious where all of a sudden I'm paying $1,000 a month for the server, then I'll put a little, hey, you have to log in just an
A
email
user
address.
code, yeah,
And then
yeah.
anybody who's using it a lot, a lot of it'll be the honor system because I'm not a micromanager and someone wants to cheat me. Most people don't. All right, I
Well,
found
the honor system works as long as the honor system works as long as you deal with honorable people.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly, and every
I
once in a
think
while you
James
get a
Romick's
rear
on this thing, so,
yeah. I have 6
sketchy.
months worth of work on it. Anyway, it's crazy. So I'll turn that off, but I'll take any questions on it, and, I some of those details, my wife's like, "You can't this is costing you've spent,
Yeah.
600 hours on this thing. You can't just give it away." And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Well."
yeah, your wife and I are in agreement.
Oh, there she is. People, oh, she's the one that asked the question. Yeah, yeah. It'll
Yeah,
probably,
she's
I'll tell you, if people are using it for business use, then they should be paying something because they're getting paid for something. So it
yeah,
makes
yeah, yeah.
sense.
I mean, it's I'm sure it'll all work out, but first, standing ovation. I can't really stand up because I'll step on my dog's head. He's right underneath me here. But listen, I think you are such a terrific human being and such a great guy and do so much for this community. And I don't think you get the credits and the love and all the other things that are due you. I really think you've this is a massive undertaking. And look, we're doing this show. We've been doing it for almost 2 years, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Every
There's no
Tuesday,
work on it though. I don't do anything.
I think somebody sent us a coffee once, and
Yeah. Well,
yeah, but things happen. It's just part of this is you can't do something for the community and then expect the community to pay you after that's not the deal.
yeah,
Yeah, so set up. But this work, this ACX testing thing, you did it, and I think there should be it should be there's enough money involved that if it's just a small bit from everybody who uses it, those small bits as incremental money should give you,
yeah,
Bezos money
yeah,
in
yeah,
no
yeah.
time. Yeah, get your own
So I
yacht.
just have to figure it out
Yeah,
because I don't even know what the costs are. I do know.
yeah.
I mean, if I'm under 1,000 hours total, I'd be shocked because
The Don
it's
Barnes
crazy.
business plan. Yeah, make
Yeah,
stuff, put it
how to
out there,
lose
see what
money
happens.
quickly. All right,
It's
that's how this one works. All right, but I learned a bunch of things also. One of the things I am doing, I'm working on this AI for voiceover. Somebody else I think uses the same sort of title, but not for voice clone, but I really have learned, and I'm leveraging a bunch of AI stuff for how to run a business. And so I'm going to be doing some seminars here coming up about. So Johnny's saying, well, I'm curious about how I might use it for to help my scheduling because I'm always scheduling on paper. I wonder if I could leverage AI to help me with scheduling among multiple books, and then we can deal with that because
You
I've
wanna
just
talk about that in New England? You wanna do a session?
yeah, definitely. Oh,
Well, then let's
absolutely.
I'll rewrite the agenda to
Yeah,
suit.
because it's the thing is that I think that I consider it the cell phone of 2025, where when I carried a cell phone back when they were little bricks because I was traveling and I had a very early cell phone. But I remember when texting started, and very few of you out there will remember you had to do this push 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 push. You didn't really have a full keyboard. You had to, all the keys have the letters on them, and you had to do uh, texting was kind
Yeah,
of a nightmare, but then the kids they'd almost do it behind their back, and they could do it super fast, but it was
yeah.
not simple. And I remember when I first saw it thinking, well, this is dumb. I'm just going to call Johnny. I mean, I would never text him because there was enough labor involved in texting. But now I'm at a point where my children, who are all adults, if I call them,
Something's wrong.
yeah, they
Yeah,
might pick up because it's
yeah.
me. But half the time they text me back in about 10 seconds with a, "Hey, what's going on? Do I like, do I really
I don't
need
know,
to
yeah, yeah.
talk to you?"
Yeah.
But this
People have forgotten that cell phones are actually used to talk to each other, yeah.
So
But no,
here's the thing. All of us, many of us who have been around long enough, would have in the early days were thinking, "Yeah, whatever, it's a fad. I don't need that. I'll just call the guy. I'll leave a voicemail." I never leave a voicemail anymore. I can figure out Johnny sees on caller ID that I called him,
yeah.
and he either responds or he doesn't. Do you?
I click on my recents to see who called. I literally forget that I've got voicemail.
Yeah, yeah,
Then I
yeah,
go and it's like 7. I'm like, "Oh, crap, I didn't even look."
yeah.
And by the way, Andrea, checked in. We will toward the end of the show, we'll reiterate, um, Don's new ACX testing thing. He's still looking for testers to work with it. When it's ready, it will be available on the VO Jumpstart page, I would assume.
Yep, yep, yep. And the great thing is that to begin with, it'll be free. Anybody who has the jump start, they'll get it free, even if I put a charge on it. Okay, so all right, so let's take questions here from people. Um, and let me look through the questions here. And Dan was talking about as a fellow musician, he can relate to playing terrible shows. Yeah, but it's just empty. Boy, that's just. Anyway, anybody who's done comedy, every once in a while,
Oh,
there's
God.
nobody there, and then the manager of the place goes, "Well, I'm paying you to perform. You perform for the waiter."
Yeah, I've done a show for 3 people once in a snowstorm in Chicago.
Yeah, I think we've all done that. Okay, and so for Audiobook Wizard, you drop in all the credits and chapters. Yeah, you just drop everything in all at once. You can drop in the sample, you can drop in the credits, everything. Matter of fact, I did when the group that I passed in had credits and a dedication and everything, and you just drop them in. They don't even have to all be in the same folder to start with. Um, and then James was talking about he had a very very bad night. Um, it's just part of the business here. Oh, and Barbara asked, "Do you have to separate the MP3 from the wave?" Nope. The example I showed earlier, I dragged in an MP3. Most of them, 20 of them were MP3s. I dragged in a wave file. That's the one that came up with the red. So that was a wave. You could put them all in there. It doesn't really care. The only thing, wave files are huge. If you put a bunch of wave files in there, it is going to take it. They're probably 8 times larger, and it isn't 8 times longer for it to do the job, but it probably doubles, maybe triples the time it takes for it to do its job, just because the files are so large. And then so it's all online. There's nothing to download. Um, so as far as the desktop, I have thought about doing a desktop version, but man, that's a nightmare, and I doubt I'll do that. Um, so you can
So
go
what
back, watch it.
questions do you guys have? The we have an open half hour basically,
Yep.
and Don and I can certainly fill it in about 2 seconds just
Yeah.
by yammering because we're brilliant at that.
Yeah.
I will say, oh, I'll bring up something early while you're here. Don't forget next, less than a month now, Paul Rubin and I will be in Philadelphia, August 16th, a Saturday, to, do an acting intensive audiobook workshop. If you've not worked with Paul and I in one of these acting intensive, it's very exciting. We go back to the roots of basic acting, making choices based actor-based choices.
That's in Philly?
Um, yeah, that'll be in Philly on Saturday, August 16th. You go to johnnyheller.com under workshops, you'll find it all. Um, there's still room. Surprisingly, we did not. I thought we'd sell it out immediately, but we didn't. I think too many things are going on. But either way, I'm going to Philly in August because we're going for the weekend because I like Philly and they have great restaurants and fun town. Ruben is a EN, by the way. He'll know.
Oh,
Paul, that's right. That's right. No one cares. No one cares.
no,
Even Paul does.
he does,
But
and
we'll be there. And so if you wanna come, you should think about it. We have lunch, well, it'll be a great work. It's just a full Saturday. Um, what else? Let's see.
yeah. Dan's talking about the way it is funny how some
I'm gonna I'm gonna stop you there. Here's what Paul does too. Paul's such a wonderful if you've never worked with him, his style is it's very like if you ever read Benjamin Franklin stuff, his style is quite like the beginning where you go, let me Paul will say about that subject, I would say the following. And so it always takes a step away, so it didn't really come from him. Allow me to say the following and instead of Don and I would just say, "Here's what we think," we just tell you. Paul has a little introductory speech to his and he goes, "In 3 minutes or less," and I'm thinking, "There's no way. He's never done anything 3 minutes or
Can I ask
less."
you a question, Johnny?
Yes.
Just I was doing the Paul Rubin method.
Oh, yes, yes, yeah. Let me
Sorry.
ask you this about that. Here's
Okay.
James I mentioned here, James Rummick and I, first, I've mentioned this 1,000 times, I'll say it again. James Romick is clearly one of the most helpful people on the Facebook, with the social media, with the Facebook, the
Yeah.
Facebook you kids are using. But he really helps in all those ACX groups and answers pretty honestly. I find I go to ACX things and I answer some things sometimes only to get some pretty harsh response because people don't really want so much to know the answer to a question. They want validation for their incorrect way of doing things frequently. So here's but have you wait, what's it say?
Basically, how do you gently or bluntly let someone down who obviously doesn't possess the talent or skills when they're approaching you for coaching?
Okay.
Well, you want to know what he told me?
Yeah.
Give it- go, go, stay
You
in
say
your
the following
lane.
about that.
Stay in your lane. Go do something else. Go ahead.
Here's something that comes up a lot for everybody in the business, whether you're in the audience or you're a coach, or if you do one book, you probably know more about an audiobook than someone who's done none, but it's still not a hell of a lot. Um, everybody, because what we do is as basically as I can put it, is reading out loud. That's what people think it is. They think because they have a passing knowledge and understanding of the English language and can see pages on a page and read them out loud, they therefore should be paid to do so. I'm going to say this a million times, a million times, a million times. This is an acting job. It's all about acting. And I've said it before, a great voice, a pleasant sounding voice is nicer than one that doesn't sound pleasant. But if you can't act, it doesn't matter what your voice sounds like. People contact most coaches allow you to have like a 15-minute consult. And hopefully in that time, we find out if there's a match, if something going on. My questions typically are what's your background, what's going on. I'm listening to how you speak, what your background is, what you think. I just did, I think I told you, and James does it too, live workshops at the SAG AFTRA here in New York. And I know it's in LA as well. I have like, what, 15, 16 people, introduction to audiobooks. They find out that there's money to be made in audiobooks. They want to come and do it. More than half had not even listened to an audiobook.
Wow.
So you ask those kind of questions. So I think gently is the answer. If someone it's not up to me to say, Don, you're never going to get a job in audiobooks. John, you're never going to get a job as a drummer. Well, all he has to do is get a job as a drummer and, just get a little better and he can get a job.
Right.
It's not for any coach to say never.
Right.
Look at some of the crappy actors working regularly now. Just put on TV, put on movies. There's some bad acting. Bad, 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 bad. How do they get the job? Well, they could be really hot to
Yep.
look at.
That's how I got all mine.
Yeah, they can be Don Baarns hot, which is crazy hot. But
That's I'm on
you
a
know,
streak.
you know what that means in Great Britain.
No, I
Okay,
don't.
yeah, asshole. Okay,
Oh,
so,
okay.
oh yeah, yeah. I,
Sorry.
I just
Well,
thought of QI last night.
clearly I don't
Not that I'm
know.
making a connection, but all I'm saying is, look, if I try and tell people, listen, I want to know what their acting thing is, and I say, and sometimes I'll frequently say, your choice is what you really need to do before you begin to study with me is to get some acting background, take some acting classes, take some workshops, go to community theater, take acting, take improv, learn a little bit about the craft, and then let's talk. Because most people, and you guys can all look at yourselves and think about it. What's your background? A lot of people came from corporate work into this. Doesn't mean they can't do it. Some people are fantastic, just great. They have the ability. Some don't. What's your background? What's your knowledge? What do you do? I tell people generally, this maybe you're a little jumping the gun here because if you take a workshop with me and you want to take coach a couple of times, I don't have long sessions like Joel and Sean, those long 15, 18-week things, whatever it is. Don't have them. I do a few sessions. If you think you want to work after that, understand you're competing with me and you're competing with Ray Porter and you're competing with Scott Brick and Joanna Perrin and Hillary. So many people. That's what you're saying. You're saying I'm ready to compete with them, and you're barely able to compete successfully against AI. You have to be honest. I do not want our community, our craft inundated with poor actors because that's when AI succeeds.
Right.
So, way you tell someone is gently or bluntly is entirely up to you. I mean, if you want them to study and come back, you can be nice. If they don't get the message, look, or you just say, I'm not the right coach for you because I don't believe you're prepared to do this yet. Simple as that. I don't have to coach with somebody.
Yeah.
What are some of the responses? Hang on.
So James is saying someone who obviously needs a speech pathologist or their accent is so thick that it's obvious that English is not their
Oh
native
yeah.
language. Yeah, well, that's
I,
like
I
me.
I've had that a lot of times. Literally, I said, you're going to be limited to the books and the language you speak, and I can't help you get work because I don't even know what that language is. I can't tell.
Yeah.
I said, you can't. You're not gonna get Huck Finn.
But so so James, though, to be pointed as far as the response, you and I and Johnny and every other coach out there has to learn how to speak in a manner that is both encouraging somebody to continue and to grow without saying, boy, because with their starting point, it's up to them whether they're going to continue. And it's up to them to see, and learning how to be good at telling somebody that they're
Yeah,
not great at something is an art. And it is one thing that Johnny tends to do very well, but some of it is he's great with humor, and being able to let somebody down gently is an art of coaching. And also, coaching is about encouraging in a way that pushes people in the direction that will actually benefit them.
yeah.
But there is an art to that, and there is no one answer. But the question is this: Do you, if you have that all the time, have you read the book on persuasion? There's an excellent book. I'll have to find. I'll post that title. Remind me.
Yeah, and also you have there's a line where you gotta be nice and pleasant and politic, but
Yeah.
after a while, if someone's not getting the hint, okay, look, you can simply say, "You're asking me about coaching. I don't feel I'm the right coach for you. In fact, I don't think you're ready right now for coaching. I would take these steps to get ready for coaching, including some, in this case of James' last comment, some lessons in accent reduction." So that you can be fully understood, because right now I can't. Now, if any of this is harmful for you to hear, I'm sorry, but then I'm telling you, I'm not the right coach for you. So you don't have to carry on. You know what? We've all labored under a misconception that everybody has to like us all the time.
Right.
It's just not. I mean, I'd much prefer everyone likes me. I know they don't. Yeah, no one has. You can't have a big personality and everybody like you.
Right.
It just doesn't work that way. And so you've got to get past that, and you've got to say, James, I've told you to your face, and I've told this crowd, you're a great actor. I think you're fantastic as an actor. Now, what if I don't think much of you as a human being? That's not the case, but it's possible. It doesn't change the fact you're a great actor.
Right.
So if I want to send someone to you for coaching, I'll say he's kind of an ass, but he's a great actor, so you'll learn a lot.
Yeah.
The
Yeah. Yeah.
same I tell them when they go see Don Barnes.
Yeah. Yeah, he says the ass part all the time. There is a there is an art to that, but so how do you persuade people without offending them? Is really how do you guide somebody without offending them? And that's a learned thing. I used to write some horrible things on Facebook because I didn't understand that in written word you can't tell I'm being sarcastic. You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
tell. So there is a problem, and um, writing, so if we're face to face, then you get some nuance of our how we phrase something. If I write the same thing, if Johnny writes Don's an ass, it comes across very differently than if he says it with a smile on his face, and you can tell the sarcasm is dripping there, even though he does mean it. It's really one of those. So you do have to learn to write, and that is an art. And I've spent crazy amounts of time learning to add the little wiggle worms, the wiggle words.
I just saw Lisa. You see Lisa's comment? You have a great voice for tech work.
Yeah. Well, she knows me. This is the funniest thing. She used to say, "Can you say that like you mean it?"
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and I remember being frustrated with, I thought I did.
Well,
Uh,
you know what?
but
Here's an interesting point. James asked the question to me the other day, and he's bringing it up again today because he cares about how to handle people's feelings.
yeah,
That's important. And I'm this. I think we're all the same to some degree, but after a while, you've got to say, look, it, ours is one of the only crafts that you can be successful in that people who admire and want to emulate your success don't want to emulate or admire the work
right,
that went into getting it. They just don't care. If you're a neurosurgeon, they think, oh my God, that's amazing. Where did you go to school? How'd you learn that sort of thing, et cetera, et cetera. No one says, hey, you're a brain surgeon. I've got an X-Acto knife at the house. I can probably do that. Where do I start cutting? You know, that doesn't happen in other jobs.
right,
So understand that you, every single one of you watching and seeing this now and watching later, have to understand that you have some gifts that other people don't have, that they may never have, or you may not have those gifts. You simply need to understand where you came from, when you had to do it, what it was like. These are human beings, but if someone's not, I've had people on the phone refuse to hear what I have to say. Refuse. They're just not gonna be told no. I said, "Okay, I admire your determination, but I'm not the right coach for you."
right,
And also, if I like them, I might send them somewhere. If I don't like them, I said, "You have to do some more research, find some other coaches, because I don't want to send them to Don or James if I didn't like them."
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I actually, that's what I do. I send all the people I don't like to you. I think that's a great strategy. It always does come down to, though, and then you have the other thing on the flip side. I knew a young drummer one time that I thought, "Ah, this kid is what a loser." I didn't say it,
Yeah.
um, but what happened was 5 years later, that kid had gone to some of the instructors I had gone to and worked his butt off, and he turned out to be great. Even though in the beginning I was thinking, "Man, no chance." It taught me a lesson as a young performer.
Yeah.
I might have been 18 when I met this kid and thought, no way." But so people can change. So it's how do you be nice to them? How do you encourage them without how do you encourage them to do the right thing? And the other thing that's super cool, if you do it in the right way, then people come back to you later and go, "Well, I just thought you were a rear end when you gave me that advice to begin with. Now I see you're right." As
Yeah.
long as I wasn't mean to them, then that works 6 months to a year later. If I'm mean to them just because they ask a question, that's where I get into problems.
You know, Dan Belmont brings up something about the imposter syndrome that, Rebecca Lee had brought up earlier as well. Um, the imposter syndrome is something when it first came up, I don't know when, a number of years ago, I said, I didn't even know what they were talking about. I had to look it up. It's like all those ADHD and all those letters. I don't there's so many letters, I don't know what anything means anymore. I assume I have everything. The imposter syndrome issue, however, is a convenient has been it exists, it's real. I'm not saying that at all. Far be it for me to say that's not what you're feeling, because you feel what you feel. But don't let it become a convenient cop out.
Right.
I think too many people do. And understand as best I can, but this is I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, but I'm telling you, go to psychologists, go to therapists, talk it out, because you'll find the imposter syndrome is a name you've given some insecurities that you have.
And we all have them.
We every and that so
Yeah.
it's not you alone. And also, when you've worked with Don Baarns, when you've worked with Johnny Heller, when you've worked with Sean Pratt, when you work with Joel Frum, when you've worked with these people, you spend time, you've learned, and then you start getting some work and people hire you and you start working, or it takes a while and you're not getting hired yet, but you will. That's not it. That's what the job is. That's what you picked. The imposter syndrome can't be a way to don't use it as a crutch or as a way to distance yourself from potential success. Too many of us are built from in hotwired in our DNA to not achieve success because we think we're not going to be good enough.
Yeah.
What if I tell you that you are? Now what? Well, geez, you're going to have to greet success, aren't you? I'm going to tell you something that I don't know if I've shared. I don't have imposter syndrome. I worked my ass off to do what I do and to do it as well as I can. And I think I do a pretty good job. I don't question. I know what I did to get the skills I have.
Right.
I know what choices I'm making. I know. I mean, it's natural for me now. I don't question it. Do I have more to learn? Oh my God, yes. Can I be better? Absolutely. But in striving to be better and striving to have a more engaging performance, there's no imposter syndrome. That's the job.
Yeah.
So you should restate imposter syndrome into, oh, I don't know, something more palatable
Yeah.
because
I'm in
it's
a
such a big
growth
negative
mindset.
wall.
It's
What's that?
fine. I'm in a growth mindset. I'm on my path.
Yeah, yeah. There'll
It
be obstacles on that path, and that's one of them. Your belief that maybe you don't belong. But if you keep doing the work, you know what you're doing? You're working to belong. If you want to be a knight of the round table, everything you're doing is a quest to finally be knighted, I suppose. I happened to watch a King Arthur movie last night. That's why it's on my head. But the point is, every one of us has roadblocks on the road, either to success or to middling middling success, because we all have, we are always stopped somewhere along the line by our skills, lack thereof, or our fears, abundance of. And you need to recognize which is which.
Yep. I'm gonna put in a
Um,
reference here too. I got something
you you
ready.
you you s you simply cannot allow yeah, imposter syndrome is fine, but recognize it for what it is and deal with it. Talk about it, get through it. Don't allow things like that to stop you. There are so many things that actually can stop you, like someone saying, "We have no work for you," or someone saying, "I'll never hire you," or anything like that, which isn't likely to happen. But the idea that you're not good enough, you don't belong,
Well,
eh, I don't think
yeah,
so.
but see, so here's the other thing. So let's pretend that right now you think you have imposter syndrome, or you're talking about it. First, we got to eliminate that term. So Johnny's 100% right. Number two, people that are confident at things, you start realizing, oh, a lot of times they had that confidence before they had the results, which is kind of weird and seems backwards. And that was this young drummer. He thought he was the greatest thing ever. And I remember looking at him and going, man, he just doesn't know what he doesn't know. But he was also persistent and he pursued being better. So that while at that point, yes, he didn't know what he didn't know, he did the work and put in the reps behind the scenes until he did know. But he was confident right out of the gate. It was crazy. And I'm going to share something in terms of a book that if anybody thinks that you're going to eliminate that word out of your vocabulary, but I'm going to put it up here. It's called The Confident Mind. And this is a book that I believe everybody should read, and I'm probably on and listen to. Um,
It's okay to read, you're allowed.
yeah, you are allowed to read. I remember those days. So- You'll notice, as he says with the gray hair. Um, This is one of the best books. It's one of my favorites. I'm on probably my 12th listening through it. I mean, it's one of these things that every year I'll go through it, but I also have chapters that I just put on repeat and I go through because I realize there's some nuggets in there that yes, I've heard, but hearing any of this stuff and then applying it, just knowing how to be a good actor, quote unquote, knowing you need to do improv and actually doing enough improv to make it a part of you is a totally different animal. And you have to do both. You have to
Mm,
know that
yeah,
you need improv, and then you have to pursue it, and then you have to do enough of it to go from being, I'm just okay at it, to being,
yeah.
it's a part of me. I don't have
Mm,
to think about it.
mm,
I'm confident in it. This is a
and
great book for helping people with their mental aspect of this game and every other game.
and listening to that or reading that and like books can help you. So can I
Yeah.
mean, I'm huge in talking to a therapist when you need things, but I'm not saying it's not okay to have imposter syndrome or any other issue. You have what you have. It's not up to Johnny Heller or Don Barnes to say it's okay to have it. You have it.
Yeah.
You feel what you feel.
Yeah.
It's super important that you recognize and try to determine where the feeling comes from, what it's about. Is it based in truth? Is it based in fantasy? Where are you in this? And if you want to share your gifts with the larger world, your gift as an actor on stage, as a comedian on stage, as an improviser, as an actor, in any kind of voice genre you choose, particularly audiobooks, you've made a choice that allows judgments because if someone's there are people working on TV contracts, making tons more money, more successful than me on their first show because they're on a show and I'm not. And I'm saying they suck. Well, you know what? Their paycheck would argue differently. So there is that. There's also the idea that you talk about the work that's out there and what you can do and how you can do it. There's so many avenues to pursue. But once you decide to share your creativity, your talent, your skills with the world, there will be those who are going to either because they're jealous or just they're at they it's open season on you,
Yeah. You become a target.
which also reminds me, I see it mostly in the ACX and other voice groups. I'm going to put up my demos or my read on this book and see what you guys think. I'm not getting any work. What do you think of this? And someone with little or no training will put their demo, their thing, and they'll put it on social media. I, I, have said it. We've all said you probably shouldn't do that. I don't know how many people are in the ACX group, 60, 70 million or so. You want those many people giving advice? It's like if you have a restaurant, just a restaurant that sells burgers, Johnny's Burger Joint. There are going to be people, I promise you're going to think Johnny has the best burgers, and people think Johnny has the worst burgers. Worst. And when you go to Yelp, you'll find it all. It's the same. Look at the reviews you get on Audible. I mean, you can have great things and horrible things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're going to put your stuff out, I would not suggest, hey, what do you think of my work or who I am or what I'm doing as something as broad as social media? For a number of reasons. One, you're going to get so many mixed opinions, and the ones that say how good you are the ones you're going to hear.
Yeah.
And that's not good.
Benjamin says, what would you say to a narrator colleague who is successful but has never listened to an audiobook in their life?
You know, two things. One, I don't think you can argue with success. If they're making money and they're doing fine, that's great. Two, I think that they're robbing themselves of a learning opportunity, an
Yeah.
opportunity to be more successful, more skilled, and they're not giving the just love to the craft they say they represent. I've never seen an actor, a stage trained actor, not see shows.
Right. Well,
I've
but here's, yeah,
never.
what I would say to them is hats off to you for your success. Sometimes I would say something like, "Hey, if you were my brother, this is what I would say," which meaning that I'm going to tell the truth to my brother, which about what the question they're asking me. And my thing to a person like that would be, hats off to you for your success, but you're missing an opportunity to be even more successful. And
Yeah,
it's not
and also you're
about
not
whether,
listening to me clearly. Benjamin, they're not he's not listening to you.
yeah, yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, and the thing is that what they don't realize, every performer who is in anything that's, some musicians do this all the time. I don't want to say you can't succeed without listening to music, but what you learn by listening to the same thing over and over again, and to listen to Johnny narrate something more than once so that you start going, oh, look, he put a pause. I never would have put the pause there. I would have put the pause. And so,
Yes.
and it's like, oh, that's fascinating that he decided it really works there. That's good. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah.
Now I have two ways.
Well, I've said this before too. When we're watching something on television, Joanna and I may be marginally, or you may be marginally interested, and suddenly somebody appears on that small screen or the big TV, whatever you got, that suddenly is just you simply have to watch them. They are that fascinating. So now either the camera loves them or they're amazing actors. But you can tell a great actor next to less great actors immediately, and you're riveted. I
Yes.
think not listening at all to other narrators is not a good career choice and not a good friend choice.
And Andrea, this is an awesome statement.
Yep.
Too much advice can be more harmful than helpful. I should know. And this is also, so people crowdsource. They go to an ACX group that has 6,000 people and they say, what do you think? And they get 25 opinions, and 24 of them are from people that probably should not have responded. And one of the arts in life is learning who to listen to and find somebody. So this is, I mean, an approach that I would consider. If I want to study to be great at this, I'm going to pick Johnny or pick the person that you like, and I'm going to start with Johnny, and I'm going to only listen to his advice for a little period of time. Now he's smart enough to tell you, hey, there's a lot of other good advice out there, a lot of other people, but go to one or two people and follow their advice rather than go ahead and crowdsource everything. The wisdom of the crowds is really crappy for a lot of arts and
It's
performance
crappy in
stuff.
general. Look at anytime you get a group together, you've lost any individual thought whatsoever.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
and so sometimes the group works great for some advice like, is white a more popular color on a car versus green? But that doesn't affect your income and your growth potential as an artist. But find one or two, and then after you have taken in everything or as much as you can from Johnny, after a couple months, 6 months, whatever, you pick the time frame, then you find another mentor, and over time you find 2 to 3 people that you really trust that give you good advice consistently, and that works. But Andrea's exactly right. I do
yeah,
see people that bounce around. I've given them some advice. They do
professional
it,
students.
and then they do 6 other things, and then they come back to me, and it's like, "Wow, where did you get that?" And then you find out, and it's like, "Ah, shake my head," because there's a lot of bad advice out there, and it's hard to figure out what's good advice, but find a couple people you can trust that are successful, go with them to begin with, and as you get a bigger picture of what's going on, then you can discern
Yeah,
whose advice is helpful, whose isn't, but just don't take advice from anybody if you don't know them, especially in
and
some of these groups.
and also understand that, the things you're told sometimes may not sink in, may not seem right for you right away. I don't know how many students I've talked to that I say things, and months down the road, they go, "Oh, I heard from Sean this," and I said, "I fucking told you that months ago." But, it's like,
Yeah, I
it
know.
does I don't care I don't care when it sinks in or how it does, because 'cause you're gonna hear talented, smart coaches say the same things with different words,
Yeah,
and you don't know when it's gonna sink in. So, what Johnny said is this, what Joel said is that, what Don said is that, what Joanna said is that, and all of a sudden, it's what Carol Monda said it, and I go, "Oh, I see what she's talking about," and
yeah,
it's what all the other 7 people said too, but the way Carol put it, somehow it sunk.
yeah,
You know what? That's absolutely natural, and no coach should I see stuff on Facebook, "Who are great coaches?" And sometimes I don't see my name come up.
yeah.
People don't mention, like, "Okay, I'm still doing fine." But
Yeah,
sometimes you think, "Damn it,
well, and it
how many
is
you know you worked with?" Let's say
it is funny to how many times though people take advice from somebody. So I've told them, "Hey, do it this way," and then they go and they do something totally different. And sometimes I think, "Wow, okay, I don't know who you're listening to, but they don't have good ears. That's definitely something." And everyone who's a coach has that. But as a student or somebody, and I'm always getting coached as well in other areas, you need to be selective about who you listen to. And
Yeah,
the younger you are in the business, the more you need to hone in on one or two voices that you follow and take that down a path for a little while. And then you'll grow and you can start discerning who is giving good advice and who's not giving such great advice. So that's a
Yeah.
process. So,
This,
anything
by the
else?
way, this has been a wonderful show. I wanna thank Don for spending all the time and energy and effort to put together the new ACX,
Pre-check.
testing thing. Again, he needs some beta testers. His program will be available ere long. It's just being he's working out, like a great guy is, he's working all the kinks so they don't come to you all kinky. You have your own kinks and you can keep them.
Yeah.
You don't have Don's kinks. So he's gonna fix it all up for you, and that's just great, and again, that's a wonderful thing that you're doing. This show, we have a guest, Blake Honeycutt from DN Audio next week, and then we're gonna take August off and come back in September. Again, I'm saying this to you guys listening live and those who will watch later. We would like some more guests. It's a bit of a task, go find everybody all the time. And we're happy to chat just us 2 the whole time. So you don't want that. So so
Yeah.
if
We
you
want
want
an
some other
upgrade. Get us
people.
a good guest so we have an
Yeah.
upgrade.
So the other thing coming up, so again, Philly, August 16th with Paul Rubin, and then I'm doing and with Don, the New England narrator, retreat. It's our 10-year anniversary. That's October 13th to 16th. Again, you can find it on my site that Lisa Ware just fixed up beautifully for me. Um, we have some room at both events. The New England retreat is really a fascinating and wonderful place. So if you can make that, it's 3, 4 days. There's 4 publishers going to be there. It's a great time. So we hope to see you there, and we hope to see you next week.
Yeah, you guys have a fantastic week, and send me a private message. By the way, the beta is almost done. I've had a bunch of testers. I just need some final ones to make sure everything's right. So do that in the next day or so. It'll be live here probably at the end of this week. So you have a fantastic, fantastic week. We look forward to seeing you on the wires. Goodbye.